Hey guys, what's going on? Coach Mike here with Iron Shark. Just wanted to go over 3 main ways to develop and build upper body gymnastics endurance. So with the Open coming up, we know that's going to be a big factor. A lot of times it's almost just as much, if not more, of a limiting factor than your conditioning or your weights or anything like that. This is one of the big pieces that's kind of that big bottleneck for people in certain workouts, whether it's chest to bar pull-ups, whether it's muscle ups, toes to bar. A lot of times that's kind of where the bottleneck happens in the workouts. Not that you can't breathe on wall balls necessarily, or breathe on deadlifts or whatever it is. Those are factors, but generally speaking, when we come to kind of that dead stop and what limits us from moving on in the workout, it's that upper body gymnastics endurance. So 3 things I want to look at is we have to develop strength first. So this should have happened earlier in the year. We can still continue it right now. At this time of year, we got 2.5 months left, but it should have happened earlier in the year and during your off season, and continuing to develop that over the years. The stronger you are in gymnastic strength, the better those movements are going to be. Just to kind of, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but starting with static strength. So you should be able to hold positions, chin over bar holds, passive hanging from the rings or from the bar, handstand holds, things like that to start developing strength, and then get into eccentric strength, so slow eccentrics on the way down, and then concentric strength, and then dynamic strength. So if you haven't put in the time here, you're going to suffer when it comes to dynamic movements like toes to bar or kipping chest to bar pull-ups or kipping muscle ups, things like that. You're only going to be able to develop so much endurance and capacity in that if you haven't put in the time here with static, eccentric, and concentric strength development. Next up is greasing the groove type conditioning or type of muscle endurance development. So greasing the groove, this was originally put out and it was saying, like, for instance, pull-ups is a common thing that this is used for, and it would be basically like if you set up a pull-up bar in your room and you maybe do about 50% or less of your max reps. So we're talking about strict pull-ups here. So let's say I can do 10 strict pull-ups, then I may do 4 reps every time I walk under the bar at my house. So maybe may accumulate 6 to 8 times that I'll do 4 reps in a day, as opposed to doing a full-on strength training session for pull-ups. So it allows us to do this every day, and you're not as taxed, and you're still developing strength. So what that would look like for a normal setting where most people don't have access to that, or especially if it's something different than strict pull-ups. So if it's muscle ups or if it's handstand push-ups or something like that, or if you just want to do it for all gymnastic stuff, then we put in our warm-up. So again, this would not be where our full session is dedicated to this, but maybe in our warm-up, maybe we do 3 sets of, marker doesn't work very well, 3 sets of 8 to 10 chest to bar pull-ups, kipping pull-ups, 40 double unders, and 6 pistols per leg. So this would be one day. This is not for time, this is just focusing on rhythm. Again, this would be about 50% or less of your max reps. So if you can only do 12 chest to bar pull-ups skipping, then you would only do maybe 3 or 4 in your warm-up, just to kind of build a little bit of volume. And then you would go on with your normal training, however that may look. You may have more pull-ups in here, or you may save that for another day. I would typically save it for another day, so I have pull-ups in the warm-up here. So the next day may have pull-ups here. The next day may have pull-ups in the warm-up again, and so forth. So you're getting a little bit each day, but not too much to be really taxing and overtrain those muscles. So the next day's warm-up could be something like 8 to 10 handstand push-ups, box jumps, rebounding to develop that kind of little bit of volume with rebounding, and then maybe hip extensions or something. So again, it's just a little bit of added volume in your training without putting too much on you and overtraining and getting injuries from that. Again, I wouldn't do this necessarily all year long, just maybe right now for the last 2 months before the Open, to help add a little bit of volume and build a little bit of endurance. Again, it's important to note that we have to develop strength first. So I don't want to just throw somebody in who can't do a strict pull-up and have them doing kipping chest to bar pull-ups every day in their warm-up, even if it's a couple reps, because that's going to lead to overuse because they haven't put in the time and earned the ability to do that dynamic movement every day. Next would be density training. So you can do this with unbroken sets or ladders. So let's say pull-ups is our thing that we're working on here. So we could do, instead of just throwing pull-ups in a workout like Fran or something like that, maybe we write it out and maybe we do 15 sets of 5 unbroken. And maybe we start with a 60-second clock. So it's 15 minutes, 5-minute EMOM. If that's difficult or you don't make it all the way through, then the next week you'd repeat the same thing. If that's comfortable and you got through it, then maybe you drop it down to 50 seconds or 45 seconds and then 40 seconds and so forth, and just keep chipping away and decreasing the rest during that, and which will allow you to hold that pace and know your pace when that comes up in the open workout, when you know you need to sustain sets of 5 or whatever the case may be. You could also do big sets. So you could do 3 sets of 15 to 20 unbroken. So whatever you get the first week, let's say we get 20, 17, and 15. So the next week, I may say try to get 3 sets of 18 all the way across. So a little bit submaximal at first. Second set is pretty difficult. Third set, you may be hanging on for dear life. If we complete that, 3 sets of 18, then you would go to 3 sets of 19 or 3 sets of 20. And you would just build on that capacity that way. Other way you can do it is ladders. So this is just kind of trying to get, it's basically an AMRAP, but or it could be for time, but it's basically trying to get more in that set amount of time or decrease the time. So maybe you do a 1, 2, 3, etc. up to 10 unbroken pull-ups for time. So 1, drop down 2 in a row, drop down 3 unbroken, drop down, and so forth. The 10 has to be unbroken. So you learn pacing that way and develop that endurance that way. The next thing, and then obviously you would just try to decrease that in the preceding weeks. The next way might be a 5-minute AMRAP. And we have a 1 to 5 ladder, unbroken ladder, and then you start back over at 1. So you do 1 unbroken, 2 unbroken, 3 unbroken, 4 unbroken, 5 unbroken. Start back at 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as much as you can in that 5-minute block. The next week you'd repeat it and try to get 1 more block or 1 more piece to that. So again, a couple different ways to build upper body endurance. I hope that helps. I hope you can implement that immediately in your training. So go have some fun with it, see what you think, and let me know if you have any thoughts.